Hey guys, so welcome to our first podcast.
Hello.
My name is Nathan Black. I'm joined with Mr. Lewis Cairns from Perth.
Hi there.
And I've also got Mr. Joshua McCallum, who is with me, present at the moment. You want to say hello, Josh?
Hello.
So just to give everyone sort of an idea of what we're going to do here, we're going to discuss a couple of topics over a period of about an hour, and they can range, from anything from the completely ridiculous to the most intelligent things in the world. And
No, not this podcast.
not this podcast. Okay, maybe not then. But we hope to try be unbiased. I need to make it clear at this point that none of us have any affiliations with any political party, and we'll try and represent balanced arguments and things that we talk about the best we can. Anyone else want to add anything to that at all?
Yeah, I think we should add the fact that we're all history, politics, social science students at University of the Highlands and Islands. And Joshua, where do you go again?
I study at New College, Lanarkshire.
So we're all students, and whilst we're pretty well versed in some of the history stuff, we may not know as much about some other things. So we're just kind of having a mad crack at it, to be honest. This is more banter than it is, a political statement or anything like that.
And saying that, we come out and we start giving pure
Start a
hate
revolution.
messages. Start a revolution. That's
Do
what
a
it is.
Lenin?
I start a revolution.
We'll be the next. We'll be the next Trotsky and all that. Yeah.
Whoa.
Maybe
Might
not
as well.
Trotsky, but someone near
Unless
these
you,
guys.
unless you want to die with mice buried into the back of your skull.
Yeah, that seems quite extreme. That. Anyway, so first order of business, what we're going to talk about.
Let's take a crack at Ukraine. I mean, Crimea have came out today saying that they, as you were saying earlier, Nathan, that they no longer want to be part of Ukraine and they want to be part of Russia now. And how are we feeling about that, guys? What does everyone think?
That's going to be very difficult. I mean, I can understand Crimea was a part of Russia up until 1954, but if they're going to completely, we'll say annex themselves, right? Because it sounds really cool. If they're going to completely annex themselves from Ukraine will cut off the electricity and the water and absolutely everything that they provide to the Crimea. So the only thing that Russia would or pipes into Crimea is oil and gas. So all Crimea is going to have is oil and gas. It's going to have no electricity, no water. And I'm pretty sure that they're saying apart. Josh, don't know if you picked up. Josh was saying apart, and they're building a bridge. But let's be honest, that span, there is an ocean.
It's a very small ocean. It's across I think it's the entrance into the Black Sea.
Is it actually an ocean though? Is it not the Caspian Sea or the Black Sea?
No, there is an ocean. But what I'm thinking is it's going to be very difficult for Crimea and Russia to get back from this. I mean, look how amazing Russia was doing at the Winter Olympics, and everyone's like, oh yeah, Russia's really changed. I mean, okay, it's gay rights and stuff thing are really quite whoa, blow
Almost
out the water.
archaic,
But they're now. I mean, I don't think Russia could ever diplomatically get back from this. I mean, I can't remember. I think it was one of the Ukrainian commanders on one of the naval vessels stuck in the harbour says that in the 21st century, there is absolutely no need to put for an arm something like this. This is something like you would see in I don't know, early 21st century or whatever. Early 20th century would be the Germans and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think what you see in Russia today is it's a very different Russia than it was previously, because I mean, I think you see almost there's a public voice there now, which came after Gorbachev opened it up to freedom of media, and I think it was about 89 or something. He gives freedom of speech to the media, but you see, I mean, I was watching a video on Russia Tonight, the big news channel there. And I don't know if you saw this, but it's the news anchor, she just rounds up a story about Ukraine, and then she ends it, but with this brilliant political speech, how in the 21st century it's so unnecessary for such a show of force.
Did she not then resign? I'm pretty sure she resigned.
Did she resign? Do you know what? I only saw a short clip of it, and I thought it was absolutely heroic.
I think we should give her a clap right now, just a clap.
Yeah, right, clap.
Well done.
We don't know your name.
Well done, girl from the Bond movies, because they're all Russians.
Yeah.
That's a funny
No, she was an American anchor that works for them, Russia Today, and
I'll
one of her another guy also resigned. But I think the Sun. I mean, I know we said we keep education in here, right? But okay, no. The Sun came out and said in today's paper that apparently Putin's just like Hitler, in the sense that he occupied. Well, he's got.
Liz Wally resigns live on air.
Liz Wally.
The Ukrainian crisis.
Right.
Will I play it or
no? Don't play it. We'll let people watch it themselves. But yeah, apparently they're saying that Hitler is like Putin's like Hitler because, you know, obviously Hitler goes in and sort of like fucking took over Czechoslovakia and annexed places and stuff. So they've done exactly what Hitler's done, only done it in the 21st century. And Britain and everyone else is acting the same way of, you know, this is really bad, but what can we do to stop you?
If you go one step worse, we're going to really take action against you.
It was actually very heroic. Actually, Poland stepped in, which, you know, usually a lot of people slag off the Polish for, well, being Polish for lack of a better term, but they actually stood in and told the Ukrainians that regardless of what Russia does, they'll defend Russia. They'll defend the Ukrainian borders against Russia, regardless of the cost to them. I thought that was quite a noble thing to do. Actually,
I think that's
pretty stoic. Like, that's a really big. That's a heroic gesture, but I don't know how intelligent it is politically.
Yeah. Could you imagine? I mean,
don't worry, Ukraine. We've got your back. We'll help you against the nasty Russians. And it's a week and a half now. Russia have invaded Poland.
In
other news,
it would just be history.
A week and 5 days from now, you
it'd
just
be like
see Poland has fallen
itself.
to Russian military might.
Again.
It's only about the 20th time in history that's happened. Fucking Russians. No, but I remember the other day there when we first attempted this, we were really quite afraid that we'd wake up in the morning and we'd see that, you know, Ukraine and Russia had gone to war. But I
remember going to sleep that night and thinking in my head, I could wake up and the world would be entirely different from the one I just went to sleep
guys,
in.
I'm not even kidding. I literally thought about sitting up to 3 o'clock and literally just waiting to see what happened. It was that big a deal.
Do you think Putin was sitting in the Kremlin going, what time is it now in the UK? It's 2:59 and 50 seconds. Start the countdown.
According to Putin's cabinet, there was no such ultimatum given, and the Ukrainians were just looking for like a.
I don't really see. I don't know. Like, see when you look at on the news. I mean, the BBC smuggled themselves on board a Ukrainian ship, and the only thing the Ukrainians were saying they had to defend themselves was a hose, like a water hose, was the only thing. And they'd like. I really think, to be honest, that I mean I understand there are always two sides to the border, right? The border, sorry, two sides to the story. Well, there is two sides to a border when you think about it. But you know, I think there's two sides to the story. But I really think that doesn't matter if it doesn't matter like sorry, Josh was just procrastinating this. But no, I think that Ukraine's totally, you know, is completely helpless. I don't think they have the ability to, you know, to stop anything.
I think we talked about this a while back. Like, they've got the numbers, but it's not a heavily militarized like force. It's not particularly well trained force. It's not easily mobilized. I mean, if anything did happen, I think it would be over pretty quickly for a pretty decisive Russian victory.
Yeah.
You know how I was talking about Poland saying that they were going to defend Ukraine?
Yeah.
I'd like to read something I've just seen here. Fears of the Russian military have now spread from the Crimean Peninsula and completely outside Ukraine. Both Poland and Lithuania have asked NATO for protection against invasion from their neighbouring country, Russia.
Oh God!
So it's the two countries that said to Ukraine, "Don't worry, we'll protect you." They're like, "Yeah, NATO, yeah, hi buddy, how you doing? Can you protect us from Russia? Because we think they're going to invade us."
Yeah.
Could we have a lend of your nuclear shield, please?
Please give us nukes.
Yeah. No, I think. Lewis, what are you playing with?
Myself.
Can I just say very quick? I do need to warn you. Like, see when we're recording, there's like this is like a meter thing, so it goes from like minus 60 all the way up to 0. And when it gets to 0, it's when I think it's when it'll meet like static and a lot of interruption because we're speaking too loud, and it's bouncing between like 1 and negative 12, which isn't that big of a gap on this wee scale thing. So I'll just need to like warn you, maybe not talk as loud. But No, I actually think, you know, I want to know, do we think it's de-escalated now, or do you think it still has the ability to be potentially violent?
No, I think we're still in a powder keg right now. I think if something happens, and I'm looking at Ukraine right now, I mean, everyone seems to think of Ukraine as this country that's getting bullied by the huge, massive, scary Russia, you know, the Russian bears descending upon Ukraine. I think Ukraine have the potential to start something, to be honest. I mean, what was it the Ukrainian politicians called the Crimean vote? They said it was like a ridiculous vote or something, and it was just completely fictitious almost.
Yeah, illegal and unethical.
Illegal, unethical, and unconstitutional.
Yeah, and they said they said they would
talk like that's dangerous.
Yeah, and they said, well, they did say they would protect their interests and protect the interests of Ukraine's. But I want to know, like, today the Crimean government or the local government or whatever have actually come out and said we're definitely hoping this vote. We've asked Putin. Now I want to know if they vote yes, which I have no doubt that they will vote yes.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
pretty much a foregone conclusion.
I think it's going to happen. What I know is, you know, what will Ukraine do? What action would Ukraine take?
I think if you put up to a poll of maybe 1 billion people, you asked them, where is the next, you know, global conflict going to start? I don't think any one of them would have said Ukraine.
Well, no, do you actually remember the other week there when we were in history class? I said, do you not think Ukraine has the potential to turn into like a flashpoint between Russia and Europe? And look what's happened the week after I said it.
I do, and I remember our lecturer, who I won't name, actually saying, "Oh no, I can't see Russia moving." And well,
I used to work with, you know, like Israel, and you know, oh, that'll never happen. And then
but
it's like,
potentially you have already seen Russian troops militarized and moved into Crimea. I mean,
did you hear about the thing at the airport, Sevastopol?
No, what was that?
About 200 Ukrainian troops marched towards these Russian guys, and they had this negotiation, and then what happened, there was a confrontation, and then these 7 guys in like black clothing appeared, and the Ukrainian troops thought, right, they're going to start something with us, and we're going to try to defend ourselves, and the Russians are going to open fire. So the Ukrainian troops left. The next day, the Russians had gone for the airfield, like completely had gone.
Really?
Well,
what do you think that was then?
I think what it was I mean this. I really don't know, but a part of me thinks it could be that the Ukrainians are like, right, okay, well, what the fuck are you made of, bro? You know, come at us. And the Russians have gone, right, okay, so they're being deadly fucking serious, and they're wising up, because I think those 7 guys were intended to provoke them into a fight where the Russians would get involved, and then shots would be fired, and that would the war start. I think what's happened there is that Ukraine has played smart, and Russia's gone, oh shit, these guys aren't, you know, these people aren't as stupid as we think they are, and then Russia's backed down and moved away.
I think what we've seen in the past couple of days is probably one of the most telling kind of facts to come out of Russia probably in the past 30 years, and that it reflects that it's not really as big a nation as it wants to think it is, and it's nowhere near like the old communist principles of old, of like, oh, Russia's strong and everyone else is weak. I think this is probably one of the few times in history of the past 100 years Russia has actually backed down from a conflict without any bloodshed.
Well, again, I don't really know if we could say that what Russia's done is backing down, because they still have troops in Crimea, they still have the navy. I think Joshua's got something, he's waving at me as if to go, come on.
There was an image today sent out by by an independent newspaper in Europe, and it was showing like pictures of Russian troops being hugged and greeted by children and adults in Crimea, and you know Crimea. Sorry, so we see this thing on our news, and especially with BBC News, and kind of papers and people towards the west, where they're talking about how saying, oh, Russia is bad, invading, blah blah blah, and then you actually look inside Crimea where there's a huge amount of Russian support. You know, there's people in the streets outside the local government building celebrating the Russian troops being there, and obviously the Russian troops now being in charge, and you know, people were singing in the street and dancing and having photos taken with these Russian troops. So you know, it might not, although technically, you know, under European law, what they're doing is illegal. The people of Crimea seem to be pretty pleased.
But again, the problem with that is you need to remember that during the reign of like Stalin and communist come here to Russia. What happened was Crimea was an actual part of Russia, and what they did was they removed all the, I think they were called Tatars, they moved all the ethnic Tatars from Crimea and repopulated them with Russians, and then in 1954, sorry, Russia gave Ukraine Crimea because it was a land border. They had a land border with Ukraine and thought the most logical thing to do, and this can act as a buffer state. And then what is, people have obviously grown up, their parents and their grandparents are, no, we are Russian, you know, we're not Ukrainian, we are Russian, because we came from Russia. And I think it's like the ideologies from the communist Russia and sort of Russia as a whole country. Like in Scotland, you know, we've never lost our identity of being Scottish. We've been integrated into the United Kingdom, but we still have Scottish.
We're still Scottish, yeah.
So I'm pretty sure, you know, if something like this was to happen in Scotland, right, we'd all be in somewhere, I don't know, fucking Norwegians or the Americans came over and went, no, Scotland, you know, you decide what we'd all be shaking the hands of the Americans or whoever, and the world would be, no, you can't be doing that. So I think it's
to build on your point there, what you also see is like an elevation of status. I mean, Crimea on its own, I mean, it's barely a sovereign nation at this stage. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know, does it have a central government? Does it have a bureaucracy? What does it have?
No, it's like a regional.
It has a regional.
Yeah, if we still go on the term that it's with Ukraine, it's just got a regional capital on its own. It's got like a political system that, if, let's say it voted for independence, but then Russia was like, oh yeah, you know, you're totally not going anywhere, and you're just going to stay here and like by yourself, and you're not joining us. It does have like a government, a legislative system, but the problem is it won't have an economy.
Yeah, that's the thing as well, though. But it's an elevation of status. Well, I mean, part of Ukraine, that's a kind of middle of the road country, but part of Russia, man. Yeah. I mean, think of the size of the army you have backing you within the first week.
Yeah.
Plus, if Crimea actually does become part of Russia, say we wake up tomorrow and the bills have been signed, Russian borders expand. Think legally how many troops can just pile into Crimea. I mean, it's going to be a danger zone.
Think how many troops you'll have in. Then think about how many troops you'll have on another European front, because not only, but right now with Ukraine, like when we go before Ukraine, like the whole crisis, what you can say is, well, you only had one front. Like, well, Ukraine only has one front against Russia. Now it has two.
It would have two. But also, we need to look at the tactical side of this as well. Like I was saying earlier on in the week, Crimea offers a warm water port. Russia does not have. I actually researched that, and
that's much more of a valid kind of point than. Well, I didn't think it was invalid. It's just when I researched it, you realise how much of a key issue that actually becomes in terms of trade, commerce, and also in terms of military docking as well. That's a huge benefit.
I'm speaking of military docking. I genuinely think Russia are scared. I was reading on the BBC today that the Russians scuttled a anti-submarine ship that the Ukrainians had. They scuttled the ship.
It was an outdated ship in the harbour.
No. It was a modern ship. They took it out and blew it up.
I think you're quite right to say that everyone, Russia's afraid. I think everyone's actually afraid. I mean, you see David Cameron just constantly on the phone with Barack Obama.
Right.
And he even tweeted photos of himself.
Did you guys see? Did you see the spoof picture with the guy from Star Trek and everything? Oh, it was really good.
Do you know what? Speaking of this, okay, now. I want to know what's the right course of action we should be taking, because both Britain and France are saying no, what we should be doing is tough economic sanctions, isolate Russia from the global markets, but Germany is telling us to negotiate. When we've tried negotiations, we've got apparently we have the best negotiators in the world trying to handle this situation, and Russia is sticking to its guns and saying, do you know what? No, we're not backing down.
Is Russia sticking to its guns though? Because I think
Putin's just accepted the bill. Putin's accepted the bill that says if Crimea votes for independence from Ukraine and joins us, then absolutely he'll accept it.
But Putin also came out and in front of a room of paparazzi and media hounds, he said that there will be no military action in Ukraine unless it is absolutely necessary. I mean, that's what he said. That's a backing down. Because when you saw it a couple of days ago, they were ready to march into that border.
Well, again, the other side of the argument for the Russians they haven't marched in. All they've done is saw that there are Russian nationals and people that were formerly Russian there with a Russian majority who don't want to be there. Like, for example, if we, like, okay, let's just say for example we share a land border with Norway, right? Let's just say it's possible, and I don't know, something happens in Great Britain, and the majority of the people in Scotland suddenly decide I don't want to be a part of. We expressed no, this we didn't do this. This is people from England, and Norway came and invaded us. Well, came and put troops in and said, no, we're protecting the I don't know, Norwegian. Okay, let's say everyone from Scotland's from Norway, okay, and this happened 50 years ago. They'd say, no, we're just protecting all these the Norwegian nationals that are in Scotland. So to us, we would say that's a good thing, but the rest of the world would say, no, you've put soldiers to the ground. So technically, Russia hasn't mobilised as such against Ukraine. It's created a de facto state.
I think no. Do you know what? I disagree with that, Nathan. Because when you look at the term mobilisation, it means moving mass troops within or outside of one's own borders, and that's exactly what Russia's done.
Well, what
they've
I mean
moved
is,
troops technically outside of their own borders.
No, I don't disagree with that. What I'm trying to say is, like, they have mobilised. They have mobilised to us, to the west, to the west, to the west. This is they have mobilised. But to the Russians and people that are sympathetic to the Russian cause, and to the people in Crimea, they have not mobilised. To them, what they've done is provided a security force. Like, for example, technically we're not, like, at war, or we weren't at war with Libya, but we provided military assistance. That's technically what the Russians are thinking that they've done, only not actually shot in the billets of people.
No, I know what you're saying, but I think it's a very dangerous game. I mean, there are a lot of people saying that what Russia has done is completely viable and completely legal, and there are other people saying it's completely illegal and shouldn't really happen, But
I think
whatever it is, it has to be treated with care and with respect and with a certain degree of intelligence, which I think it actually has been dealt with for the first time in a long time. I think you see Russian, I don't want to say reluctance, because they have been slightly heavy-handed, but they have been slightly reluctant to engage, which is almost a new development since the USSR kind of fell apart. You see that, but I think also you see a lot of Barack Obama hesitance. I mean, you saw the interview with him. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys saw it, but in the interview he was haggard looking, he was tired, and he looked nervous. And he's a very able politician, but you could tell by looking at that man, he was afraid and he didn't know what was going to happen.
Do you know what I saw in the papers today? I mean, for the first time, I was like, I've always really been disappointed in the media in Great Britain, right, and in Scotland and whatnot. But for the first time ever, I was properly ashamed, right? It was a headline that was saying £1 billion of your taxpayer money's been sent to Ukraine, right?
I'm good with that.
No, everyone will say, oh no, but why should it be sent to Ukraine and stuff? Well, first of all, you need to consider that 60% of the grain that they export is in Crimea. So they're going to lose a massive fraction of their economy, and they're going to use a lot of working force, and then they're going to have to pay for damages, and all this stuff's going to need to be paid for. This country can't afford it, but it's coming into the euro. Now, should our job be, okay, and this is the question, and I'm going to make this to people outside, and if people do watch this on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, and feel free to comment, agree or disagree, right? And I want you and Josh to give me an opinion as well. You look out your window, right, and every day you see a person starving in the street, okay, every day, and you see them from... You've seen them since the moment you first ever saw them, right? Let's say it's 15 years ago, okay? That's probably when we all started watching TV, or whenever you started watching news when you were like 8 or something, right? Let's say you've seen them since you were 8. You're now about to go into 19 and 20, and you still see that homeless person out in the street, okay? Now, do you help that homeless person, yes or no? Or the hungry person, the starving person, do you help them, yes or no?
Yes, I think basic human nature is that you help the starving or to help the needy, yeah.
Right. So, what is the difference if that person is a further distance away from you? It shouldn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter if that person is 1,000 miles or 1,000,000 miles away. If I was to go on and see someone in distress, or a group of people in distress and in crisis, human instinct is get your finger out and help.
I agree with that human instinct is, yes, we should help. But the thing is, it's not always black and white. With vagrancy, then those people, you can help them by giving them something as basic as food, as basic as water, because that will definitively help them. Now, when it's black and white like that, it's easy to make the right call. But you're not looking at black and white decisions when you're looking at foreign policy. You're looking at different shades of grey, and you have to evaluate what's going to help you, what's not going to help you. Like the likes of Libya, I'm sure David Cameron was all for helping. Was it the rebels or the loyalists? I can't remember.
We'll call them rebels.
Yeah, well, sorry.
Luke Skywalker and his friends defeat the evil Darth Gaddafi.
But is that? I mean,
that was the worst Star Wars analogy ever.
We're gonna. It still worked though. The thing is, I mean, could you actually help them?
It did work.
Would you help them?
Would I
mean, it's not as black and white as giving a vagrant
but then,
some food. You know what I mean?
But what I mean is, like, when we're giving them money, I mean, we're giving them money on the pretenses that, you know, they've had to mobilise their army, they're going to lose all their crops, they have damages done through rebellion. I'm pretty sure, again, back to the example, if we were to vote for independence and the UK government said, actually, do you know what, Scotland, no, and there were riots and murders in the street, and then, you know, I'm pretty sure the international community would put their hand in their pocket and say, do you know what, Scotland, this wasn't your fault, so here's a bit of dosh to, you know, recoup, you know, costs or whatever that you've lost. I think that's what I believe that's what we were doing with Ukraine, of saying you've had a shitty white, you know, bad stuff's happened to you, so this money won't sort your economy because we know you're going into debt, but this money here is, you know, to help you get along.
But could it not also be said that by giving them money, it could be subsidising their military, because that's where they're going to put the money into?
But do we know that?
Well, I think it's obvious by the fact that there's
so.
750,000 Russian troops on their borders. I think their primary concern is going to be defence.
They will defend themselves, but what I think where Ukraine will spend the money is again on trying to get food, and you know, they're gonna, like I was saying, they're losing 60% of their agricultural market for grain. Their economy that's already going downhill is going to go down steeper. That 1 billion is going to help them.
No, I think you make a good point, and I think it's maybe time to round off on the whole Ukraine-Russia thing, because it can get a bit dry, and it's such a deep thing. Can I actually ask a question to the group, which is it's somewhat of a different topic.
Josh was just left, so he's gone down to get a drink or something. Yeah, but sure.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you, I mean, I've thought this for a while. Are you concerned that this could lead to the re-emergence of Germany as a military state?
Oh, now you see, that as a question.
Because I'll tell you, let me just give you some background or some depth to the question, because it's like, I don't know, if you haven't been following the news, does this by any chance have to do with the fact that Germany is again becoming like the economic superpower in Europe? I don't think it's fair to say is becoming. I think Germany has been the economic powerhouse for at least a decade, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that is a concern, yeah, but economically, Germany is very convicted to the cause of helping the needy. They don't engage in conflicts, you know, to shun the image almost. But I mean, if Russia's making a push for or through Europe, I think a lot of the rules put in place after World War II on Germany would fall away. If if Europe's most wealthy nation was threatened by an army of almost 1 million soldiers, I think you would see the regulations disappear rapid. I think you could see a vast militarization of Germany again.
I don't know. I always get told that Germany never had an army. Like, I don't know where I heard that from, but I always remember being told that after World War II, Germany had its army dissolved again.
It did, yeah, and I think it has a fighting force. I mean, I think it maybe has about 10,000 people. I honestly don't know about that one. That may be incorrect, and it may still not have an army. But the thing is, if you've got an army of 1 million soldiers, or approximately 1 million soldiers, coming towards you or on your borders,
you're going to do everything. You're going to do everything
just to protect yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think sort of, I mean, I can't. I don't know. I can't see it happening. I don't think it will happen. But in the rare event that it does, because to be honest, I can't see Germany being the cause of a third world war, or, you know, starting a third war in Europe. But I think if it was to happen, you would see the mass mobilisation of Germany, definitely.
Well, I'm looking this up here right now, thanks to trusty Google, and Germany does have a military.
All right, does it?
Now, yeah, from what I'm seeing, it is a very stripped down kind of lesser military force.
How big does it say?
I can't actually get a. Hold on, I'll click this. Global firepower military ranks.
If you looked, no, see if you look on the right hand side, there should be like the emblem from the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. And if you go look at that box, it should say stuff like Standing Army and stuff, and all that.
Yeah,
nonsense.
well, Germany isn't in the top 100 supposed top firepower groups, so I'd imagine it has a very small military force.
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably looking at about 10,000 guys.
Let me check. I've got a Wikipedia. Is it Wikipedia you're using?
I just googled it, but the thing is, if you do see the Russian push, I think you will see that number probably, I don't know, multiply 100-fold, because Germany throughout history has always had the ability to economically.
62,279 members of the German armed forces.
How many? Sorry, say that again.
62,279 with the motto Scheitzen, Helfen, Wittmillen, Kämpfen, which is to protect, help, moderate, and fight.
Jesus, well there you go, 62,000. That's 40,000 more than the country you're living in just now.
Are you shitting me?
No, guarantee you 22,000 armed forces. That's the size of the army in Britain.
Well, no. It's what? 100.
What?
Apparently, the army of Gross Britannia has a standing regular army of 125,430.
Is that not the combination of the navy as well as the RAF though?
Yeah, that's in consideration with the German army as well. That's where the 62,000 came from. Germany. Josh was just rejoined us. It actually has a regular reserve army of 121,800. So essentially, we have the military capacity of just over a 250,000.
My God. Where did I? That was well, I apologise for that. It was a completely false fact. Where did I read that? 22,000.
I'm reading it on Wikipedia just now. Apparently,
Wikipedia is not an academic source,
knowledge.
and as a student, you should know that.
Well, I know, but shut up.
No, but yeah, no. Let's move on then from that. I mean, I think there could be a real.
You know what I want to talk about, and I do apologise because I know everyone watches this has been in the news so much, okay, but it's really important for us.
Cut Lewis off when he was trying to round up that summary.
I think we should move on and talk about Scottish independence, and I know Joshua will go off his nut at this.
I'm going to go on about them.
So we're going to ask right now, Joshua, when we talk about nuclear weapons, which we will, listen, you need to be very calm.
I will.
You can't.
No, I will.
Okay.
I learned from earlier in the week that my just total
rant. It wasn't even a rant. Do you know what I me and Lewis were speaking about this, and me and Lewis have to summarise exactly what your rant was like. You know the beer hall incident with Hitler?
Yes, it was. Yes.
Exactly like that.
He said I didn't get arrested in the morning. I woke up.
And it was louder.
Yes, probably, and I didn't have a gun. No, but
well, that no one can really prove
so
that.
I'll let you
Yeah,
guys
but let's move on. Scottish independence. Have you guys seen on BBC today? Shell wants Scotland to stay as part of the United Kingdom.
Shite.
Have you heard?
That's not even what Shell said.
I know, it's not what Shell have said for one. Let's not even move on to that just yet.
Lewis, would you actually like me to read the statement for the listeners to what Shell...
I've got it.
I know it was something completely different.
Before we say anything, we're going to start a movement, okay? We'll start a movement that every time someone that supports Scottish independence sees something, please use the hashtag BBC bias, because I think it's just going to be... I think they'll just get to the point like, what is this? What is this that's coming out of Scotland? BBC.
As was said at the start of the podcast, we have no political affiliations.
I've heard that many a time, my friend.
Trying to find the actual thing. The contingent faces short term.
No, they turned around and they were talking about the headline was Shell urges Scotland to stay in the UK, or Scotland to vote no for independent, right? And what happened is at the introduction of the thing, they were saying, that, you know, Scotland, apparently this guy, the BBC guy, was like, Scotland shouldn't vote for independence and they should stay with the UK. But what he actually said was,
They
Hold
wanted
on.
the United Kingdom to stay part of the European
Yeah,
Union, isn't it?
I was
Yeah, that
trying
was
to-
it. That's it here. Yeah, this is it here. I actually seen this a second ago. They were saying that if Scotland gets removed from the European Union, it will cost shell jobs. There is no reference at all in this article to Scotland becoming independent from the United Kingdom. It simply says there's a real risk of facing the oil and gas sector in the proposed in-out referendum on EU membership, which risks taking Scotland out of Europe with all consequences.
No,
for
no,
jobs,
that wasn't it.
investment,
That-
prosperity,
you're
retail.
reading-
However, yes, but what I'm saying is, even there, right there, it doesn't actually say that. There's no reference to Scotland must be a part of Great Britain because blah blah blah. It's Europe.
No, it was no. What they
It
were
says
no.
there.
Yeah, but that was the one from Aberdeen. What this guy, what the BBC came out and said was the guy made a statement and he says that he's really really worried about the UK leaving, leaving. What do you call it? Like the EU. They said, basically, Shell does a lot of business in the EU, and for Britain, for the United Kingdom to leave the EU, that would be detrimental, right? And then what happens was they then turned around and was like, oh yeah, also do you know, and then the BBC says, oh yeah, that's totally impacting Scotland. Like
This is funny.
actually,
It's like
the article actually says,
Yeah.
and this is quoting the article directly. He said the company had reached the view for the same reasons it supported the UK staying inside the EU, right? But in no way in that statement, which is where they're basing their facts, does it say that he is against Scottish independence. He actually further went on to the article and says the independence referendum is a referendum for the people of Scotland, thus I shall not get involved. And then apparently it's like,
Which is, I think I should just point out that's a commendable statement to make. But I think I'm going to be the first to say this: the BBC is a disgrace in terms of anti-bias reporting. It's an absolute disgrace, and it needs to be taken to task for this, because the fact of the matter is, the British Broadcasting Company, I mean, for the love of God...
It says it in the name, British.
British, exactly. Where I was going, thank you. The thing is, it's meant to be unbiased, it's meant to report facts, it's meant to give you the news.
Have any of you heard about about the news? Let's talk about the news. Have any of you heard about the oil leak? Not the oil leak, the radiation leak.
I wanted to get my big
Oh,
point on the
Joshua's
Trident
going to
missiles.
love this.
No, okay, let's go on to Trident. Okay, I'm going to make this point. You see, Trident missiles cost about 100 million to the UK every year, is that correct?
Oh,
I think so,
they do.
yeah.
Well,
70 billion pounds is the cost for one Trident nuclear missile.
Are we sure about this? Because
Yes,
I've been told it's
I
about
can
100 million.
confirm that.
Okay, right, well, do you want to hear something absolutely amazing that happened?
Yep.
There was 2 years ago, there was a radiation spill, or not, where there was a leak.
76 million.
There
sorry.
was a leak of radiation, right? And the MOD informed the Scottish Environmental Agency, but never told the Scottish government that there was a radiation leak.
Well, this is why it came as news
Yeah.
to everyone in that area.
So do you know? And then do you know what they just went and announced today? That the HMS Vanguard is to have its nuclear fuel core replaced to the tune of £120 million. But if Joshua, very quickly,
Thing's only 3-year-old.
yeah, we have to replace the core every 3 years. Let's do a bit of math. What's
Do you know what? I think I'm going to have to stop you there, because I'm just going to get into a right rant about this. 120 million has been afforded to a 3-year-old battleship with the capability
Nuclear
of anything
submarine.
on this planet.
nuclear
Each
submarine?
armed with, what is it?
I don't want to live in this one.
What is it? What, 70 billion Trident missiles on it? I mean, for Christ's sake.
70 billion? No, I think it's get a bit. I don't know. Now the question is, first of all, does anyone actually know what Trident is? But obviously it's a nuclear weapon.
Yes, I fucking know what it is.
Trident is the name of the umbrella.
Yeah,
of the
I know
nuclear
what it
weapons.
fucking is. It's a 3-pronged nuclear warhead fired from a land-capable base and or submarine.
All right. Okay. So let's start right there. Okay. So Joshua, you said we spent 76 billion.
The cost for the replacement for Trident, which the Trident.
Not the replacement. We just want the actual cost of
Right,
Trident.
for the for Trident.
I think it's something about 100 million a year. Okay. Now let's say
how to build a
we're
missile?
going to have 8 of these nuclear submarines that are going to need to have their cores changed.
16.8 million.
16.8
warhead.
million per warhead, right?
So
there's
there's
3 warheads. So
It's absolutely atrocious.
see when you consider that we have 8 nuclear submarines, okay?
The
So
revealed
let's
cost
do.
of Trident last year was 138 billion.
Do you know what? That's absolutely shocking. When you look at the numbers, I mean, when you look at the figures, Britain cannot sustain military spending like that.
Do you want me to tell you something? I'll tell you something absolutely amazing here. Okay, we have 8 nuclear submarines, okay? The cost to the...
Getting angry now.
Let's say they have... Okay, every 3 years they need to have their cores replaced, okay, correct?
Yeah.
Which is the evidence what we've just been presented that said that through the MOD website and stuff, it says, you know, this submarine's 3 years old. Let's go to the assumption every 3 years it gets its core removed, and all 8 of them get it done at the exact same day, right, at the same time. That's 96 million. No, sorry, 960 million pounds, okay? Now, let's just have a rough estimate. Let's say that a nuclear submarine will last 100 years, okay? Just 100 years, okay?
Possible, actually.
But probably it won't, right? But let's just say the actual core itself, right? That means we will be 96,000 million pounds. I don't even know what number is that. Would that be like a billion? 96 billion pounds, would that be? Of 96,000 million?
1,000 million is a billion, yeah.
So yeah, we're looking at 96 billion
Can I
pounds to replace nuclear cores, and that's on the basis that we do that in 100 years.
Do you know what the thing is though? I think it has to be given up. Britain cannot sustain military spending like that. Britain is no longer an empire. It doesn't have these little pocket colonies. It doesn't have the wealth that it once had. It cannot sustain that
I think my
sort of
math might have
spending.
been wrong.
Furthermore, it cannot justify the spending because no one's looking to Britain. Apart from, I mean, you look at Ukraine, yeah, because they know we're bloody well gullible enough to go and help them. No one looks to Britain for security.
See, right.
So why do they need to spend almost 100 billion every
Translate
3 years in replacing the cores of submarines that we do not need?
Here's one for you. You said right there. Why do we need to spend the money? Okay, 1/5 of children in Scotland live in poverty. We cannot clothe, nor feed, nor house the homeless on our street. We are saying. I mean, Tommy Sheridan said it beautifully.
George
we are saying,
Galloway
tax cheats make up 0.7% of our population, or the population that claim benefits, yet the bankers who have arguably stole more money than this country in the past 20 years than anyone has in history got off scot-free, and we're sitting saying, but we can't afford to leave the union. If we had 120 million extra for not replacing a single nuclear core in a submarine, we'd have enough money to pay for free school meals for primary and secondary education pupils. We would be able to provide housing for the poor or give people more money. The average wage would increase, I would argue. We could clothe the homeless. We could get children out of poverty. We could probably eradicate poverty in all social levels and all age levels.
Yeah,
it's not heating for the elderly. The wee woman that lives next door to me, right? She's been the nicest woman to me since I moved street. Okay, I see her walking about her house in her jacket. She's got a cardigan on, a woolly jumper, a jacket, a scarf and a wee hat because she can't afford to heat her home, but we can afford to buy to replace nuclear cores on submarines that, let's be honest, we're not going to use.
And bailout banks,
pay for bankers' bonuses,
and send £1 billion pounds over to Ukraine.
It's not even as blatant as Trident. It's not even a blatant aberration of spending on Trident. You need to look at some of the money that's sent outside of the nation. £248 million in aid sent to India. They sent a rocket to Mars for £285 million. You take even a portion of that, you could take every child out of Scotland. Every child out of Scotland and put them to a nation that would actually look after them.
Do you know, I actually checked. See if we were to take all those children, right, with that amount of money, okay? I checked this. This is how sad my life was. We could take all those children out to M&D's, okay? Or Thorpe Park, or some amazing roller coaster place, okay?
Give them the time of their life.
No, not only that, we could then take them on possibly one of the best, we could take them to the Caribbean islands, for a 5-star hotel for 2 weeks, and then fly them all back home and still have enough money to feed them every day at school for a year. if not more.
Do you know what? Nathan?
That
do you know what,
sounds
Joshua? It's
fucking
not
magical.
even as blatant as that. You know, the shocking thing is the government lets you down in every turn.
See,
And
what
whilst
was-
that might not be a shocking
Yeah.
thing to us history students, you know, you see it at every turn. The thing is, it's still happening to this day. And I mean, the bedroom tax, you know,
Oh
this,
my God,
this
that-
ridiculous, this
Do you
just
know-
ridiculous idea
The
or
essence,
something.
this is what I think's amazing. This just shows you how out of touch Westminster is with Scottish
Is this
politics.
about the 15 million that was set aside to help those?
Westminster's
Yeah,
like,
that's exactly
you
what I was
can't
going to
set
say.
aside 150 million to help these people. They don't need these bedrooms. Every MP in Scotland, bar the die-hard Westminster fanboys, all voted for this 150 million to be set aside in the Scottish budget. The population of Scotland is behind it. And Westminster's like, no, Scotland, you can't set aside money to aid those that can't help what house they get when they're on benefits.
No,
or
but
can't
they'll allow you
help-
to set aside money to bail out the bankers and banks that bankrupt the country in the first place.
Hey! Don't know. That was a really good point, Lewis. That was very good, really good. But
Thank you. Thank you.
oh, it's just, do you know what the thing is? It
Well done,
infuriates
my
me.
son.
It infuriates me, and do you know, and I mean, this is what I don't understand. Okay, we are going to vote for our independence, right, this year, and let's just say it votes no. It's a no vote.
Right?
The majority of Scottish people want to stay in Europe because we know it would benefit us. But then in 2017, there's going to be a vote for us to leave the euro. And it doesn't matter if every single person in Scotland and Ireland and Wales voted yes, because even if England was to split 50-50 or whatever, or even if, I don't know, 3/4% of English people, which has already indicated the majority of English people will vote to leave, we're going with them, and we're going, and we're getting told from Westminster and Better Together, don't vote yes because it means leaving the euro and having to renegotiate. I would rather be outside euro for a year, for 5 years, than have to completely leave it altogether and have no financial security.
Frankly, I would rather be outside my own house in a cardboard box than watch my country be raped by the bankers and politicians who are so far removed from Scotland they can't even run banks, they can't even run a nation, which is what they're elected and paid ludicrous amounts of money to do in the first place for.
Dan Lewis.
Footloose Cairns for Prime Minister. You get a free sandwich on a Tuesday for Greg.
No, that's not in the budget.
That's
unfortunately.
No, do you know what, that is the thing? I totally agree with you. It's politicians are out
It
of
would
date.
be in the budget if we get rid of Trident.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it would
politicians are
actually, that's
completely
true.
out of date with the people. I mean, when you look at the, okay. Here's the question: is, do we live in a democracy? Yes or no?
I don't know. Obviously, the noob answer is yes. We
Okay.
do.
The idea of a democracy, if everyone has the freedom of speech, correct?
Yes.
You tell me and be honest, do you think everyone that voted for a Conservative or Liberal Democratic government voted to increase tuition fees for their children?
No.
No.
No one voted
Do
for
you
that. Let's
think
be
they
honest.
all voted for the bedroom tax?
No one
No.
voted.
So, if we lived in a democracy, what should surely happen is there should be anonymous voting in every parliamentary system across the United Kingdom, so that the people that we elect, that are meant to have our values at heart, can express them rather than getting told by the party whip, no, what we say you do. Because if we lived in a true democracy, what would happen is, let's say all of us are in Parliament, okay? Me, you and Josh are all, and I'm SNP, Josh was Conservative and you're Labour, okay? Now I turn around and I say to you, well, do you know what? We're saying what we're going to do is we're going to cut spending, okay? Now, we think we say this will affect homeless people, not homeless people, sorry, single parent families,
All right.
and that's me as Labour, okay, or SNP.
I would like to point out that you yourself, as a party leader, do not come from a single mother household.
Yeah.
You are an Eton-educated
Yeah.
billionaire.
No, but I'm saying that, okay.
Oxbridge. Oxbridge.
A true democracy, what would happen was that I would then say, I don't like this, I don't like it at all, so my government will, or my party votes to decrease the taxes single parent families have to pay, or families on low income, and we'll subsidise this through taxation of the wealthy or businesses, or what we'll do is we'll chase after companies that are not paying taxes in Scotland, okay, and we'll use the money that we get from those taxes to plug the gap. Now, in a true democracy, you say, you're sitting there and your party leader's going, actually, no, we don't like this. But in a true democracy, you say, do you know what, I don't care what you think, because I know the people in my constituency will be worse off if we don't do this. So you vote yes, and so does Josh. But in the democracy we live in, the party whip comes up to you and says, hi Lewis, hi Josh, right, we don't want this to pass because whatever reason, okay, so you'll vote no for this. So you either vote no, or you go against the whip and you vote yes. But if you go against the whip, if you go against the whip and you vote yes for it, you either get kicked out of the party, you don't receive any funding to get re-elected. So what'd you do?
That's it. That's an extremely good point, well made there, Nathan. And in fact, I will give you a clap.
Thank you.
Because, no, what you're saying is true. To a certain extent, we don't live in a democracy, but what's shocking is the people who understand nothing about what a democratic government is are the people who are in charge. The people who are educated not about democracy, but who are taught from the morning they are born, from the second they are born. They're taught nothing but the best of life.
See, if you
They're
ask
not
me,
taught the strife and the struggle.
If you ask me, the first ever democracy and the last democracy, the last form of democracy, died in 410 AD when Rome did. Because in Rome, you had people at one end of the room, people at the other end of the room, the two parties, but they disagreed with their own parties.
I disagree with you, Nathan. I do.
No, hear me out, just hear me out, okay? Hear me out, okay? In Rome, let's say, in Rome, the emperor or the leader or whatever the guy was at the time, you know, chief senator, emperor, I don't know, I don't think Rome never had a king, but anyway, he would say something, or the Senate would say something, right? And people in the Senate would go, no, that's not good. And even if it was their own party, it would say, no, that's no good, right? And it wasn't about the two parties, one party outdoing the other. Someone would stand up and say, I think this is a good idea.
I do agree with what you're saying,
and
what you're saying is true. I get the idea that they did run.
That was proper democracy. I think
the Roman Empire ran for the people on the ground as much as it ran for the politicians.
The motto of the Roman Empire, if I can just find it, I think SPQR means for the people and Senate of Rome.
But what you're saying is true. I mean, I'm not disputing that it was run for the people, but the Roman Senate itself was as corrupt as what you'll find now in Westminster. And I think politics breed corruption, to be honest.
It was corrupt. There is no doubt that it was corrupt, but it was corrupt for people that would say. I'm trying to think how I would express this as a word.
I think, if I'm being honest, one of the last essences of true democracy was probably 1800s Britain. I mean,
see, are you going to talk about fucking Disraeli?
Yeah, you knew where I was
going.
I will tell you this: he was a politician for the people, a conservative, but by no means a modern day conservative. A working class man brought up to emulate what he saw in the richer classes, to be that perfect politician. He basically pretended to be. He was known as what's called a dandy, which means he was a working class man, but he pretended to be more than that. He came onto money later, and he basically blagged his way into politics that way, and then instigated his policies with a working man mindset. And that, in my mind, is a democracy.
Mm-hmm.
The needs of the many
outweigh the few.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect utilitarianism.
Right there. I just want to bring this in. Nathan and Lewis as well. You both said that you obviously had your own definition of the last true democracy. There is only two true democracies in this world, and really believes it's not true. One is Switzerland and one is Norway. And the reason these two is because these countries have the most referendums in any other country in the world. Every issue that the government wants to pass goes to referendum. It goes to a local government where local people will sit down and they'll raise their hands, and it'll be 141 for, 300 against, notion does not pass in this council, in this state. Then that goes regional, and it's like, oh yeah, 75% said no, 25% said yes, okay, it's a no-go.
I think that's a good point that you raised, but to be honest, I would argue that is somewhat too finicky.
Yeah,
it's too detailed.
It works.
That's not democracy.
But it works.
No, I actually think, and I'll tell you why I think Rome was the last democracy.
I think we're talking Switzerland.
The quote from the Roman Senate is Senatus Polluspius Romanus, which means the Senate and people of Rome.
I can't find my shoes.
The political reference for it is Conditia Libre, which means books for the foundation of the city. So essentially, education for the city, and the Senate for the people.
Whilst I could sit here and listen to you speaking Roman,
Latin, get it right,
Latin,
son.
Latin this entire night, I will tell you this, sir. That's horse shit.
Really? Google it. Google. Trust me.
No, I'm not disputing your translation. What I'm disputing is the fact that that's the last true democracy.
America, guys. I can't hear you.
America.
Is it not just? Is Norway not classed as being more free than America?
Norway is
considered.
considered.
New Zealand is. New Zealand is claimed to be the most free.
Norway, by NATO and the United Nations, was voted the most democratic country in the world. Second was Sweden. Sorry, second was Switzerland.
If
third
a
was
organisation claims a country's
What's that?
democratic,
What's that? What's that? America? Can't hear you over all of our freedom.
Yeah. How long have we been recording this podcast?
56 minutes.
I still want to make my
56
goddamn
minutes.
point about Trident missiles.
Right, go make your point
I've
about
been
Trident.
waiting to make this point all night.
Is this going to be about the skills?
Yes, it is.
Lewis, this is the point that me and you just give up on life. Remember, people that are listening to this want to be soothed by your voice and wooed by your political whimsicals.
Oh, don't worry. I will make these people. I will make these people moist at the seams.
I think actually.
Have you realised that's such a cringy word?
Yeah.
Moist.
Moist.
It's like,
Right, guys, I think we should probably end it.
No, Lewis, I want my point, mate.
Right, on you go, sir.
No, we're not listening to you saying how moist is a weird word.
No,
that's not the point. The point's about nuclear weapons and the schools. Remember what I did the other night?
Right, make it quick.
Okay. So
remember to keep the level.
To return to what we were saying last time about when we were talking about nuclear weapons earlier on in the week, and we were saying how the event of Scottish independence, Trident missiles would be removed from Scottish waters, and how the UK want them to be in Scottish waters. So, Robert Allen, currently a lecturer at New College, Lanarkshire, and I believe he lectured somewhere else, made a short film presenting the impact that nuclear weapons have on Scotland and itself. Nuclear weapons are produced down south. I can't really remember the places and where they are, but you can find the map online if you go to www.stoptrident.org, I believe it is, and it'll show you a map of where the factories are in relation to the United Kingdom, and it'll show you the route they take. The fact that route is public, nuclear weapons, that people can actually see, this is where our nuclear weapons are going, this is the route they're taking, and this is how it's done. They recorded the entire process from these nuclear weapons leaving the factories to get into fast lane. Now, while recording this, they went through a school, went through right out the gates for primary school, went out the gates of secondary school, and went right on the motorway. There's a hospital, and they went right round. Not right on the, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Near the motorway, there's a hospital, and it's literally maybe a stone's throw away, a literal stone's throw away. No, this is down south, still near the border though. And you just go up that, you just go maybe 10-15 miles up the road, and it's a site, an accident site. There was a report just recently published saying that one of these Trident missiles actually fallen off the back of a lorry of one of the carriers, and had slipped down the side of a hill. This one was in Glasgow.
Was it?
Yep, it was in Glasgow. It was actually near Glasgow, not in it. It was within Glasgow boundaries. This I can't I need to go get it on my computer. Jesus Christ! Stop trying to harbour my point. Right, this nuclear weapon slid off the edge of a truck, went down into a big bundle of trees, and all but one safety pin had malfunctioned during this accident. If that one safety pin had just cracked, that nuclear warhead would have exploded and incinerated Glasgow in itself. 3 nuclear warheads going off. That's a hell of a lot. So when these things go past primary schools, where 5 to 11-year-olds are sitting. Effectively, children, babies, toddlers are sitting and they're, colouring in Pokemon or something.
The lines and stuff.
Yeah, trying to colour between the lines, you know, getting taught the essentials of life, how to count to 6. And, you know, we're shipping nuclear warheads right past their school gates.
I mean, what
if, you know, hypothetically speaking, what if a car crashed into one of the carrier trucks by accident and off went a nuclear device? Yeah.
It's a great point, and I think it's one we should
2,000 children dying.
Yeah.
Effectively. For, you know, you can't. I know, but I just want to end with this really this point. How much is a human life worth?
Oh, here we go.
Is it worth, you know, what, 140 billion? You know, 140 billion pounds for a nuclear weapon? Or is it worth scrapping it and giving them a future where, okay, yeah, we've not had a nuclear missile enough, but who says we won't?
I think in the eyes of Conservatives, the Labour, in the eyes of the Lib Dems, I would say emphatically no. A life is not worth 160 billion, 120 billion, however much. A life is probably the most precious thing in the world, you know, is life. And I think in the eyes of these people it means nothing. And I think that's what we need to deal with, and I think that's independence. That's what we can rid ourselves of.
Do you know what the ending of this should be?
And I think
if people are listening to this, right, and you're thinking about voting on independence, and you're on the no side, or you're on the maybe side, or you don't know yet, ask yourself where the priorities of your personal life lie, and where you think the priorities of your government should lie. Should they lie with the replacement, £120 million replacement of nuclear cores, the £100 million annual cost of maintaining Trident, or should it be with providing free school meals and free education for your children, or your children now, or the children in your future, free school meals for primary and secondary, you know, school pupils,
I think it's
heating for the homeless, you know, the eradication of child poverty in Scotland. 1/5, like we were saying, 1/5 of the children in Scotland live in poverty.
I think it's simpler than that. I think it's, you need to ask yourself, can you honestly say, does your government
give a shit?
Does it give a shit? Does it put the needs of the many before the needs of the few? And right now, if you're part of Britain, no.
Well, if you're part of Britain, yes. If you're a part of Scotland, then no.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, that's actually a great point. And I think we're going to end there, guys. So I'd like to say thank you to anyone who's managed to make it this far. God bless you for listening to us rabble on for this long.
Or maybe another day too. But yeah, thanks very much for watching, listening.
Hopefully we'll be back for another podcast. So
sometime
hang
soon.
in there, guys.
Tell your friends.
Okay, Nathan Black, I'd like to thank you very much, sir. Joshua McCallum, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure as always.
And my cat, which has been patiently listening, trying to get a little meow in. You want to say hello to anyone? No? Okay, never mind.
Okay, so we'll end it there then.
Yeah,
cheers,
with my cat. Thanks, see you later on.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.